We have one item on our agenda. We postponed it 2 weeks ago in order for Mr. Cannella to finalize his information gathering as far as the utility comparison. I think that the cities that we compared to were Pineville, Lake Charles, and Monroe. Monroe and Lake Charles being relatively the same or similar size to us, and Pineville simply because we're always compared to them as far as expense. I'll now turn the floor over to Mr. Cannella if he's ready, and we'll proceed. If you have any questions as we go along, please raise your hand, and Mr. Cannella will recognize you as he can pause in his dissertation there.
We need to turn a few lights off.
All right. Mr. Cannella?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. We're here today to talk about our favorite subject, utility bills. I talked to Mr. Fowler and also the mayor, and we had agreed that the best way to maybe present this would take the last 3 months of bills that we've received and compare the rates. We've heard a lot of talk from some of our customers that the utility bills in Alexandria are too expensive, we're going to have to move, or people from the outside area saying that we just can't move to Alexandria because our bills are too high. So we decided to go ahead and take word of caution with that, and let's actually compare those bills with the same consumption and see where everything falls. So what we decided to do was have a utility bill comparison between the city of Alexandria, the city of Lake Charles, the city of Monroe, and the city of Pineville. And we're evaluating what's normally on our bill, which will be electric, natural gas, sanitation, water, and wastewater. And this utility bill comparison represents utility bills received for April, May, and June of 2007. Now this next slide's a little busy, so y'all bear with me on this. What I did was I took a bill and we compared some of the consumption, which that's the electric consumption, that would be natural gas, water, wastewater, of course sanitation's a flat fee. And I'll go through and explain what all these numbers mean. And I have 9 of these slides, so I'm going to go through the first one, and then I'll get to what the most important part is this down here. What does it all cost? The first numbers here would be the electric rate charge to a customer for 842 kilowatt hours. And this is the fuel charge for that amount of electricity for that month. The second charge is our city rate charge for operation and maintenance for 7.1 MCF of gas, and then that's the fuel cost. And then of course we have a sanitation flat $16 fee, and then this fee represents our disposal fee, what it costs for us to dispose of the garbage and trash at the landfill. And I added this cost, which is our environmental compliance fee. I just threw it in here because it looked like the best place to put it. And of course, here's water. This is our water charge for 400 cubic feet, and that's our wastewater charge. For Pineville, this is their rate charge, which you see ours are pretty comparable. Here is their fuel cost. This is a storm recovery fee, which they charge for the hurricanes, past hurricanes. And then this charge is sometimes hidden or sometimes added on the bill. Pineville has a 4% franchise fee that they charge to their customers for electricity. So that's what that number represents. And they receive their gas from Atmos, and Atmos has a flat fee of $11.50 for every customer. They don't have a varying, and you'll see ours is $15 this month, but you'll see on the next couple of slides that changes dramatically. But anyway, they charge all their customers a flat fee, and then this is their fuel cost for that consumption. And then they have a sanitation fee, and this is their sanitation flat fee, and then that's their disposal cost of $8.53. And then for the same volume of water, that's their cost, water and wastewater charges. City of Lake Charles is on GUS and Entergy, and that is their rate, which you can see ours is pretty comparable on residential. Fuel costs, theirs is lower. And then Lake Charles charges them a 5% franchise fee. And sometimes these franchise fees are rolled into the fuel costs, and sometimes they're shown separately. It just depends on where you are. They also have CenterPoint Gas, which you can see their rate is a little lower. They have a flat rate as well. They charge every customer the same amount of money, no matter whether you use 7.1 MCF or 1. It doesn't matter. They charge the same rate. Then there's their fuel cost, and there's their franchise fee for gas. Now, sanitation, they do not have a sanitation bill. They pay for that out of a 1% sales tax. Now, water, you know, we're pretty comparable with water, and then wastewater. Y'all will see as we go along, our wastewater rates are considerably lower. Monroe has an energy from LP&L Entergy, and this is their rate and their fuel cost. Their fuel cost was lower. Now, this is what I was waiting on last week. You still hadn't had it. I can't get a firm answer for anybody. They do have a franchise fee. I just don't think it's 4 or 5%. So you can probably add some more money down here for franchise. They also have another franchise fee for Atmos gas, and I don't know if it's 2 to 4%, so I don't have those numbers. I tried to get them as best I could. I just couldn't get them. I couldn't get a firm answer from the city or the companies. Sanitation, they have a $16 flat charge. They also have a rental fee. They have a $1 rental fee for their garbage cans. And they do not charge for a disposal fee. They absorb that cost in the general fund. And then that's their water charge, same consumption, and there's wastewater charge. So what does that all mean? If you were this customer, if you're a city customer and you consume this amount of utilities, your bill is $212.88. If you lived in Pineville, it would be $228. If you lived in Lake Charles, it would be $187. But you got to keep in mind that Lake Charles does not have a sanitation fee. So if you would add roughly $20, $22 to that, we're pretty close. And then Monroe is $194. So that's the basic bill comparison. I've got 9 of them. I'll run through the rest of them, and we'll just talk about these numbers down here and maybe some of these rates.
Marcus, let me ask a question. That on that slide there, the Monroe bill, the $194.45, is without the franchise fees.
That's correct. It does not have the 4 or 5% franchise fee for electric. It does not have the 2 to 4% franchise fee for gas.
You're averaging 3%, you're right back to the others are.
Yes, sir. Now this is the month of May, same address, and you can see that this customer went from 7.1 MCF to 2.6. You can see it went from $15 to $6, and this is kind of some of the rate disparity we have. But you can see we're well below the other companies. Pretty much stays the same. You can see our wastewater costs are significantly lower than most other utilities. Of course, we lose a tremendous amount of money on wastewater every year as well. Same thing, if you live at this address and you consume this electricity, and now it's not, and I'll repeat, it's not based on the square footage of the house. It is based solely on consumption. So it doesn't really matter where you live. It matters how much you consume. So a $160 bill this month with this much consumption. In Pineville, it would be $181. Lake Charles, $137. Of course, there again, sanitation. And Monroe's $145. I've got a summary of all these at the end. Here's another one that's June, a little bit hotter month, a little bit higher electric usage. 205 for Melton, 245 Pineville, 182 Lake Charles, and 184 Monroe. We went to another address in Bayou Crossing. Of course, we have different consumptions up here. And I want to point out, you know, here's our rates. I mean, here's the rates for gas, which is real low in comparison with all the other ones. And here's our rate for wastewater. They're consuming quite a bit more. And one of the cities is pretty close, but the rest of them are a lot higher than what we are. Alexandria, 240 mil here. In Pineville, it costs you 263. In Lake Charles, it'll be 213. Plus, you got to add some for sanitation. And Monroe, 208. And it's basically the same thing. May, 198. You can see the disparity. I'll run to the end because this kind of took one in Wendover. You can see higher consumption, 2,500 kilowatt hours. And then you can see rates are pretty close. You know, rates sometimes are a lot higher in other places. Fuel cost was lower in other places. And here's kind of the disparity: $5 for our rate and $11 and $10 for other municipalities. So at this address this month, a $374 bill would cost you $434 in Pineville, $334 in Lake Charles, and $331 in Monroe. Now I took all these and I averaged them. So for the months of April, May, and June, those first three slides, they averaged $192.94. Pineville's averaged $218. So for a 3-month average, it's about $25.54 more, or 13%. Bayou Crossing, $244. Average there was $280. So you see the numbers. This is dollars more, and then these are the percentages of increase. In Lake Charles, of course, it was less. It's $23 less here. And sanitation, like you should, it'd probably be about $22, $23. So we're about even with Lake Charles on a lot of these. But if you don't add sanitation, it would be 12% higher. Monroe, it does not include the franchise fees for electric and gas, and it also does not include the sanitation disposal fee, which normally runs between $4 and sometimes $9. So there's a lot that we can gain here in some of these numbers.
Marcus, is Pineville real separate?
Yeah, Pineville does not.
I mean, electric is just plain Clico.
Yes, they're Clico.
They get, what, 3 or 4 different bills?
They have Adams, Clico, and then they
That's
have
what I'm saying, when people-
city, sanitation, water, and wastewater.
But the only fair way we could think to do it was to take the total of each city and just put it all in one place, rather than say, well, my electric, my bill was $194 and Alexandria was $280. So you can't compare it that way. You have to compare all of them. That's what we did here.
But that's not what I'm saying, Chuck, is that when people say Clico electric, they're not talking about the solar bill.
You're exactly right.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And that's why we broke it out like the way we did.
I mean, you showing it all, but it's not billed like that. When people say Clico is cheaper, they're only talking about electric.
People normally take this number right here and they compare it to this number added up together. And it's not the same. They don't worry about what they pay in these other categories. So that's why we did the presentation like we did. City of Alexandria utility system was created as a community-owned hometown enterprise operated by local government. Our goal is to provide electricity, natural gas, water, and wastewater as a public service in a caring yet business-like manner and at a reasonable cost. Local leadership means consumers' utility dollars stay in the community, creating jobs and supporting the local economy. Municipal utilities make significant payments in lieu of taxes to the city. This last fiscal year, the City of Alexandria utility system transferred approximately $5.68 million to the city's general fund to support community services and other operational expenses. Utility system provides direct funding to the bus transit system and also provides public street lighting. With a 27 square mile service territory, we serve more than 20,000 customers inside and outside the City of Alexandria. We appreciate each and every one of our customers and are pleased to continue providing uninterrupted utility services. And gentlemen, that concludes my presentations. If y'all have any questions, I'll answer those at this time.
I have one question. On everybody's mind is great. Now, what can we do to reduce the cost to the consumer?
Well, we're looking at some of those options right now. I don't know if we can talk about it today. We do have our professionals on board, R.W. Beck, Navigant. We're looking at some other options. We've also looked at some options with CLECO as far as buying some block power. And I don't know if the mayor wants me to talk about that, but we've done a few things in the past month or two that are significantly different than how we've operated in the past. As far as securing our base load for the city. But the main thing is there is cheaper power out there, gentlemen. The problem is transmission. That's going to be the biggest hurdle, and that's what we're working on. Also, you know, we're still in the middle of some litigation issues, and I don't want to talk any further about future options with anyone at this point, not while we're at the point that we are right now.
Other than that, Marcus, answer any questions that they have. And gentlemen, just remember, Mr. Silver, your question is the million-dollar question, and it goes to this. And CLECO has the same problem. All of us do. It's how do you get outside of a reliance on a mixture that is largely based on natural gas to support your fuel costs. Until we get outside of that dependence, and the folks at CLECO will tell you the same thing. Until we get outside of that being in our mix as the major component, we're going to have problems in a market that right now, natural gas is such a volatile commodity and where it is. And we're looking at different options on that without going into the litigation strategy. These are all things the public has a right to know right now and should. We're of course looking at that. And we have to separate what Marcus was, I guess, sort of tentative about saying is we have to separate out running the operations of the city, which we have to do with CLECO. Regardless of any case, we have to maintain a business-like relationship with those folks across the river because we are in a relationship right now to provide to the citizens of Alexandria. And because of that, we have to work together no matter what to try to provide the best, least expensive, but best and efficient fuel costs to our citizens. We don't do anything, as you saw, raising that on the citizens, Mr. Silver, and the rate structure's been the same for a long time. So this is a function of where we are as a nation with natural gas. It is not something the citizens are doing. We hear that we're passing it on as a tax. I hope this explains it. It's not an unseen tax. We're avoiding, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Fowler, other taxes that could be placed on the citizens. That 5.68 transfer is something that allows us to avoid other things so that we can fund continued operations. We're not funding a bunch of things that are things that we can cut. We're funding general operations that we have to have. That's what the utility's there for. It's not being operated at some profit on the backs of citizens. That's just not been the case. And I hope that this clears some of that up. Thank you.
Another thing is we took just a snippet, 3 months, 3 consecutive months, and I'm sure that if you would go out there and compare maybe some of the other months, you may not come out with exactly the same relationship. There's some times during the year that we unfortunately suffer because of Rodemacher being down for repairs, and I don't know if we hit any of those months in this.
No, we did not.
When that happens, ours, we have a real spike at that time. So what we did is we just took the 3 most current months and compared that. If you have any questions, I know that Marcus will be happy to answer them. That we're not here to hide anything. We're here to tell you utilities are expensive. It doesn't matter if you get them in Alexandria. It doesn't matter if you get them in Lake Charles, Shreveport, New Orleans. They're expensive. They're not like they were 10 years ago, back when we could buy gas at $2 or $3 and less a lot of times. Now we're up to everyday prices of $6, $7, $8. That's 3 times as much as it was back then. And we're dependent on natural gas to produce the electricity that we consume. And as long as we're in that mode, which for the foreseeable future we will be, it's going to be expensive. So we're not trying to hide it, we're just trying to explain it. So if you have any questions, I know Marcus will be happy to answer them, and I appreciate very much him taking the time and making the effort to put it all on paper where we have a comparison, which I think is a fair comparison for that particular time. And if we need to do another month or sometime else to show you something else, we'll be happy to do it. We're not here to hide anything.
Mr. Fowler, on that note, I want to state that, you know, at the risk of the politics of stating, this 3 months, that's how it came out. That's favorable to Alexandria. There are going to be other quarters or other times when it's going to be favorable to Clico and how it provides. It came out this way now. People need to understand that. But for our residential customers, the variance is not at all what people think when you factor out how we do our billing, which we have all these other items that the Clico bills don't include. So this was not about pointing any fingers and saying we're beating anyone or not. We're showing you that at a given time, Alexandria can be up, at a given time, Alexandria can be down, but this is a national problem, and for our region, we have largely the same interdependent problems with natural gas being the major part of our mixture. And that's just a reality, folks. There's no way around that right now because, as Marcus stated, there are transmission issues for all of us in this area. If we lived in Florida, where it would be coal and hydro, we'd be in a lot better shape right now. But that's not where we are. And there are things we can do, and we are doing them every day. We're committed to this problem, but it's going to take a little more time. We can't unplug from a wall and plug in somewhere else.
Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask of Mr. Canelo while he's here, the mayor, and myself? Thank you very much, Marcus. I appreciate your efforts. So we may do this again, maybe not in as long a format. Is there a question? Okay, later on in the year. So, if there's no other business come before utilities, we're adjourned.